the input fields from account object. Those are account name, account site, account type, and account numbers. Now you can ask something like, for save button, we have given value as Chavala. Now I have a question. Do we have option to change the account name to some other field? Like we want to same field name should be different. The answer is no. Here actually what we are doing is we actually using standard controller and we have standard fields itself. So standard means all the standard things come into the picture. If it is within the standard functionality, standard controller will cover. Now the next topic is custom functionality. Here we have requirement like we need a custom button. If we click on that button, it will redirect me to Google page. Here the Visual Force page is all about the view. Go back to the arc. In Visual Force page, there is a thing. If you are good with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and AngularJS, whatever it is, whatever the markup language you are familiar with, you can directly type that code here in this editor. So, if you are not working with Visual Force, somebody is good with HTML or HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript, you can directly use any of markup language you know. Salesforce is a new technology, right? If everyone wants to learn this Visual Force and start doing the code, the productivity will be less. That is why Salesforce allows everybody writing the code, whatever the language you are comfortable with it. Now the controller where we can have the business logic. Go back to the slide. The controller where we can have the business logic. The requirement is if we click on save button, this record, what are the values we are giving? This record, it means whatever we putting in these fields need to save in the cloud. And same time, it need account name to check it with opportunity. If it matches that record, we need to delete that. For example, if I type ABC in the account and click on save button, if the same record name ABC existed in opportunity also, at the time ABC should have to be removed. If that is the requirement, this type of functionality completely depends on the pure business logic. This one is something not possible to admin. As a developer, we need to write the business logic. For that logic, how to written through Apex language. Apex is the object-oriented language. It's exactly same as Java or .NET. What is the Apex class and method? Class and controller both are same. The Apex class and controller both are same. So class is something holds the business logic. Now let's take a notepad. Public my first class. Public class my first class. This is the way we are going to write the class. Now let's say if you click on those buttons, three things going to happen. One, it will insert the record into account. The second one, it will delete the record from opportunity. The third one, it will update the particular record from account. Suppose these are the things going to happen. All these three different kinds of business logic, where are you going to write? We are going to write into Apex class. This is the way we are going to write a class. This one is the signature of the class. Now inside a class, we have three methods. Public, void, insert, account. The next one is public, void, update account. The next one is public, void, delete account. This is the class name. These are the three methods inside the class. Now, what is a method? Class is something which will hold multiple methods. Apex is case insensitive language. You can write any way you like. You can write small or capital, whatever it is. It doesn't matter in Salesforce. So, class is nothing but where it's held the business logic. What is our business logic? We have three different buttons. If you click on insert button, it will execute all the lines inside the insert account method. If you click on update button, it will execute all the lines of code inside the update account. If you click on delete button, it will execute all lines of code inside the delete account. Each method holds a different logic. The combination of all these methods are keeping in a class. It's up to you. One class can have many methods or one class. Now there is something called variable. The variable holds the data in runtime. What is meant by runtime? Let's say I am invoking this particular class called my first class, and this particular method is called insert account. When you call particular method, insert account method, I might have hundreds of lines. All these hundreds of lines of code execute one by one till it reaches the end line of this method. This is called runtime. That means if you invoke a method, it takes some time to execute all lines of code that is there inside the method. That is called runtime. Suppose I am putting ABC in the account name field. Now click on the save button. The controller executes this particular insert account method. And I want to hold the particular information giving in the account name field should be held in a variable. Okay. So variable is something where you are going to hold the data in runtime. Why I am telling the runtime? You might think it. What is object? In the object we store the data, but in variable we hold the data. Let me write a small class and I will show you. For time being, just leave this Visual Force example. I will make just comfortable in the Apex class first, and then we'll continue this example, which will help you to correlate everything. Now let me introduce the platform that is given by Salesforce. It is called force.com platform. You know, if you want to write a code, you need a platform, right? When you're going to write the code, this code, whatever you are writing, you can also write in Notepad as well. But Notepad will never understand this piece of code. So you need a platform where you can write the code and you can execute the code. Here, the platform name is force.com. How I do get the platform? Remove this, click on enter. Can you see the user menu? Click on this user menu. Click on developer console. So this is my developer console. Now the developer, whoever is working as a developer, they have to spend most of the time here only. If you see the URL, as I mentioned earlier, this is the instance variable, show the region of the org. Why I am telling so many times, when you do some assignments, they will talk about the instance variable. You will confuse at that time. So this is the instance variable. We have already created a Visual Force page. What is the navigation for that? Click on setup. In quick find search box, type Visual Force. Click on that. Then we can click on new button. We can create the same Visual Force page from force.com platform as well. For that, just have to go file, new, click on Visual Force page. Give the name and then you can create. Then click on OK. That's the way we can create the Visual Force page from developer console as well. We can create Visual Force page, Apex class, Apex trigger, everything from the developer console. Now if you want to open the old Visual Force page, earlier what we created. What is the name of the page? My first page. You can simply go to open, select the pages. In the filter, you can search that name, my first. You can see over here. Double click on this. This is the code. You can directly type the code here, and for saving, go to the file. You can click on save, or you can use the Ctrl+S. It depends on which one is you comfortable. You can write over here or you can write over here. This is up to you. I would like to write the code in developer console. This is called force.com platform. Not only write the code, you can also compile the code, etc. I think the Visual Force pages are clear. Now we are going to discuss the Apex class, how to write Apex class. Apex class is something where we are going to write the business logic. So now I'm going to File, click on New, click on Apex class, give the name. I'm giving my first class. Click on OK. It's created. This is the one way of creating, or you can go with the legacy approach. Click on Setup, quick find search box, type Apex classes. You can click on Apex classes, then click on New button. So this is the way also you can create. There are different ways you can do it. Let me create an Apex class called my first class. Public class my first class. Class is what? It is nothing but a controller. What is meant by controller? Where we write our business logic. Business logic is nothing but different methods. Now, what is method? Let's write a method. How to write a method? Inside the class, we need to write a method. Public void insert count. Do you know what is public here? It is an access modifier. Every method we definitely have an access modifier. What is access modifier means? Let's say I want to call this particular method insert account anywhere from this particular arg. Suppose for example, if you have your own arg, from your developer edition you cannot call method what I have written in my arg, because this method insert account method exists in my own arg. So if here you write in public, you can access within your arg. Let's say you have a different class called my last class. That's a different class. If you want to access this insert method into this class, you can able to access, because here the access modifier is public. But if you want to access this method into a different instance, like a different arg, this is my arg. If you created your own arg, if you want to access this insert method into your arg, you cannot access this method because this one is existed in my arg, my own arg. That's the difference. We have different types of modifiers in Salesforce: private, protected, public, and global. Global is another access modifier available in Salesforce, which will help the developer to call particular method not only from inside the Salesforce arg, but also from outside the other Salesforce arg. As I told earlier, this is my arg. For example, if you want to access this method in my arg to your arg, you can access it. When we declare this access modifier is global. I am repeating again. You have your own username and password. I have my own username and password. If I create a method in my arg, you cannot access that. When can you access that? You can access it when this particular method is global. So access modifier is clear. Now we're gonna discuss about of the void. Let's say I'm writing 30 or 100 lines of code inside this method. And if you call this method, what the method is returning after its execution. After the void, we can give any method name, but you should make sure same method name can't use multiple times in the same class. Right now, we got only one method. I'll just copy paste. Right now, we have three methods. These three methods having three different names. The same name we shouldn't give in the same class. If you give the same name, it will throw the errors. I think you understood what is class, method and access modifiers. Now let's take a variable in the method. String. Yes. I told you already a variable is something which can hold the data in runtime. It will not store the data in same object. Suppose I'm writing s equal to Salesforce. Let's take the capital. Here s is what? S is a variable which holds the data for time being. And what is the type of variable? It's a string type. What do you mean by type? Type means we can hold any kind of string in this variable called s. For example, we can take another variable called int. Here, int variable takes an integer type. So write integer before the int, semicolon. So using this variable, I can insert or holds only numbers in this int variable. Variable is very clear. Variable is something which can hold the information. So what I have done, I just have taken a variable called s and then stored a value in s equal to Salesforce. Now I will just print this variable, s variable. If I print this, I can see what this s variable is holding. How to print? In Salesforce, we have something called system.debug. System.debug. Right. Printing plus yes. So here I'm concatenating yes. Control S. In Salesforce, they have created so many predefined classes, right? So here what we have done, up to now we are trying to create a class. That class going to have 3 methods. With those methods, we can insert, update and delete the records. In same way, Salesforce having some predefined classes. Salesforce created a class called system, and inside the class they have a method called debug. These are predefined. You have to know how to utilize those. So system.debug. What is system? It is a predefined class in Salesforce. What is debug? Debug is a method, and this method has something called parameters. If you see the insert account method, this particular method we haven't passed any parameters. What is parameter? Let's write string s inside the insert account. So parameter means when you call this method, you have to pass one string because this method is a parameterized method. If you don't pass any parameter, you can directly call that method. So system is a class and debug is a method. Let's try to Google system class in Salesforce. Go to the Google. Click on this. Here you can see all available methods in system class. You can see we have a method called debug. Here you can see in this method there is a parameter called message. Debug message. That is what? Parameterized method. So whatever you pass in that method, it will print that particular variable. So what I have written? System.debug, I'm printing, then appending mean concatenating, adding the variable. Now take now the semicolon and try to save it. You can see the error over here. Missing semicolon at number 9. But it's not clearly telling. In that case, if you want to see the error, just you can copy the code, type the Apex classes. to my first Apex class. Edit this, taken off the semicolon, try to save. You can see the error. It shows a good error message that will help understand what exactly the error. What I do, instead of writing the code in developer console, we can write in Apex classes. There we can see the error message clearly. If you study the error message, it's crystal clear what exactly the problem is. The problem is over here. Now I'm going to give the semicolon. Control S, gone now, and the code saves into Salesforce. So as per this, the class and method concepts are very clear. I have taken a method inside a class. I declared a variable called S and printing that variable. Now we will see how to call this method. Let's call this method from developer console. There are two types of methods are available. One is called instance method. The other one is called static method. This particular method is instance method. If we put static next to the public, that's called a static method. Now I will show you how to call this method. For calling this method, we have to open the anonymous window which is under the debug. For open that window, you can also type Ctrl E, or else just go to the debug and click on open anonymous window. Now we can see a window has been opened where we have to write script to invoke this method or call this method. Now I'm going to show how to run this method. Let's take the class name. So this is the instance method, right? I'm taking an instance variable, new class name, semicolon, instance dot insert account. So click on execute. Now click on debug. See, you can see over here, I'm printing Salesforce. Close this. For example, this is a static method. Just type static next to the public, Control S, go to the anonymous window, try to run this. Static method cannot be referenced from non-static concept. So how to invoke the static methods? Just taken off these. Click on execute. See the debug logs. I'm printing Salesforce. This is the way we can call static and non-static methods. Now I'm going to do some changes in the existing code. Give few dotted lines. Control S. Here I have added some dotted lines and quick save it. Now I'm going to call this method. If I call this method, what's going to happen? One new log will be created. I'm going back to the developer console. Control E. It's open. Click on execute. Now click on the debug log. Close this. Now if we return s equal to sfdc, written below to the s equal to Salesforce, what will be the output? Click on Control E. Click on execute. One debug logs open. Now you can see I'm printing sfdc. You got it right? As per this example, we have understood one thing. As I said earlier, variable can only holds one data. Here we gave s equal to Salesforce, s equal to sfdc. Which one it is printing? It is printing s equal to SFDC. It means variable can only holds one data. These are the basic things I'm exploring here. Once you understood, then you will see how to write a program on real-time scenarios. Now let us again, I'm writing s equal to s chavala, Control S. Now if we run this program, what will happen? This s chavala will replace SFTC, right? I mean to say a variable can hold one data. Clear? For example, if I want to hold SFTC and Salesforce, then what I need to do? See, variable is something frequently using in Salesforce. So what we do, we can concatenate that. But that one I'm not looking here. Suppose I have hundreds of data for time being. I would like to hold that's hundreds of values into this particular variable. So this variable will not help me to do that. Now let me introduce collection. Collection is a framework which we'll use very frequently in Salesforce. We have something called list and collection. List is something which will hold multiple data at a time. I will show you how to take a list. For that, I will create a separate method. How to write the method signature? Public void string collection test. Now inside the method, I will take the list. List string lst equal to new list string. Control S. Here lst is a variable and sc is also a variable. But what is the difference? S can hold only one data, but LST can hold multiple data because this one is collection variable. Now LST is a variable which can hold only string type of data. Here we are making the LST is generic, means this particular LST variable can hold only a string type of data. If we put integer instead of string, the list can hold integer type of data. Now we will see what is the syntax for insert some data in the list. LST dot add yes semicolon. Here add is the method and again list is predefined class in Salesforce. Add method helps us to store some data into the list. If you want to know more about of this, simply type in Google list class in Salesforce. Click on this link. Here you can see what are the available methods in list. You can see add method is the first of the list. That's telling us adds an element to the end of the list. Okay. So what are we doing here? We are actually using this add method in order to add values to this variable. I'm going to add Salesforce keyword one by one. LST. Just copy this. SCL. What I'm doing, I'm adding Salesforce to this LST. This data in the LST variable. Now I'm going to print this data. For that, system.debug, remove these colons, just declare the LST variable. Control S. Now I just saved it. Try to run this. After saving, we can see there is one error. Unexpected string token. Okay. Alright, just take it off this void. Control S. Now variable does not exist S. Here we have to keep S in between the quotes. What happens if I write 5 in the place of S and save it? Method does not exist, incorrect signature. Void add integer from the type list. Here 5 is an integer, but LST type is a string. So it's not compatible. Now replace S with 5. And save it, Control S. Again it's throwing an error. Missing return statement required return type. Why the error is throwing? Now we can see the difference between void and string. The void and string are return types. The insert account method is expecting nothing in return. But if you see the collection test, is expecting string in return. But I'm not returning anything. So we have to return at ending of the method. So what we need to return? We need to return a string. For that, take a string variable, string variable, declaring a variable and take something in the var. You can take whatever you want. I'm taking training. Now return that variable. Now what it's going to print is going to print the Salesforce. Maybe you're gonna ask, like, when it is printing Salesforce, why we taking a variable and why you passing the training text into that variable and why we returning that? The answer is simply this is a string variable. We have to return something. That's why we are declaring something over here. You can declare anything, just return the string, but it's going to print what we are passing to the list variable. What we are passing to the list variable? We're passing Salesforce. Salesforce. We're passing these characters into the LST variable. That's what we are printing. So it's going to print Salesforce. Now, how to invoke this method? Just copy the method, press Ctrl E, remove everything. My first class, paste that method, and click on execute. Non-static method can't be referenced from the static construct. Or just type the static, then see. Now click on debug only. You can see here Salesforce is one S is missing. Go back to the code. Yeah, we haven't given the S. That's why it's giving Salesforce. It's showing Salesforce. If you want, you can give that one also. So Ctrl E, execute, click on debug only. Now we can see Salesforce. It's printing Salesforce. Now tell me the difference between variable and list. Variable holds single data and list holds multiple set of data. Now onwards, we are going to use number of times the variable and list in Salesforce. Remember something, this is what you're going to expect in interviews. What is static method and what is instant method? This is the instance method and this one is static method. The static method starts with the static keyword. So how can we run each of these methods? If you want to run the instance method, you have to initialize the variable. Control V. If you want to run this method, just copy this. First, we need to copy the class name, initiative variable, class name, take the instance variable, copy the method name, click on execute. Debug only. You can see the output. Now, same way, if you want to run the static method, how can we run the static method? Static method, just copy the class name, dot, method name, semicolon, highlight this, execute, highlight. This is the output. So this is the way we can run the static and instance methods. If you want to run the instance method, you have to use the instance variable. If you want to run the static method, you can directly run with the class name and method. One more thing is, here list is a collection which can hold multiple data. Let me show one thing. If you see the output of collection test method, there you can see some duplicates. S is coming 2 times. What does it mean? List entertains the duplicates. List entertains the duplicates. List is a collection that will help us to store multiple data, but it allows duplicates. For example, if you don't want to allow duplicates, set is another collection which will not allow the duplicates. Here I'm going to write one more method, set test. Just copy paste this, replace set with list. So method name should be different. I'm going to change it as a set test. Control S. Now run this method. Control E. My first class. Select this. Execute highlight. Click on debug only. Here you can see there is no duplicates. That is the way we can apply lists and sets in collection. Thank you.